discussing the upcoming weapon banner, which will be featuring the Mistsplitter Reforged and the Unforged Claymore Rerun Banner. So along with that, on the banner there will be a series of Favonius weapons plus the bell. So let's just talk about the 4-star options really quickly here. Basically, I'm going to say them in a very summative kind of way. So before we get into the 5 stars. So I'm just going to put up one of them as an example. So we have a Favonius Sword, we have Favonius Lance, Favonius Codex, the Catalyst, and Favonius Warbow. All of them have the same passive, so it doesn't really matter which one we're talking about. But anyway, all the Favonius weapons in a very summative kind of way here is that they are very good placeholders, especially in the early game and mid game. And on certain characters later on, as we now have, you may want to just give them a Favonius, and that should be good enough, whereas they don't need anything more, especially if they're major support characters, okay? So that's totally fine. Okay, so I would just say the Favonius weapons are not must pulls, and they're not weapons that you need to pull on this banner specifically for this upcoming banner. That having said that, there'll be plenty of opportunities to get them from the standard banner, from the weapon banner, from from just randomly pulling on on any banner really. So I wouldn't bother. And then just quickly in a last discussion, the bell. This is a really garbagey weapon. I know that it's very hard language for me to say it that way, but it is, because currently there are no claymore characters in the game that can utilize the substat HP. Right now, none of the claymore characters seems to scale off of HP currently. So there was hope at one point that maybe Ayato, who is already released, was possibly going to be a claymore user, but he wasn't. So then therefore that already dashed this. So this is just sitting there, unused. And yeah, at one point people in the way back were using this on Noelle, but then they realized it's useless on her too. So yeah. So that being said, this weapon is a skip. So, I mean, you would not be pulling on this banner for these 4-star weapons. So let's just skip that. Since we're on the Claymore, let's talk about that first. So we have the Unforged. Now, as you guys, if you have been following me, I got this way back, and then I ended up, before the Ito banner, I think I got it maybe from one of the original, maybe Engulfing Lightning or one of those Inazuma banners, basically, and I lost the 50-50 once, and I got it, and then I kept it in there until Ito came along and I gave it to him. Hence, I talked about this in my Red Horn Stone Thresher versus the Unforged video way back, and that still holds true. So do check that out if you're interested. I know that recently a bunch of people have been viewing at those older videos of mine. So I do plan to do an updated Unforged specific video that's meant to be more of a evergreen one for future, because that's my plan moving forward, is to have more discussions about weapons. So stay tuned for that. But in this summary for this upcoming weapon banner, the Unforged is a good universal weapon. It is still one of the better 5-star weapons, of course. But of course, there's only a few 5-star claymores in the game anyway. I would say that it is a good weapon to have, and it can be useful for a variety of characters, such as Ito, who I do have. Of course, I do have the other specific signature weapons for those other characters on the screen as well. But like, if you were to give this to any of the Claymore users that you use or intend to use as a sub DPS or DPS role, and also if you pair them with someone who can shield them, such as Zhongli or Toma or Diona, you will definitely increase your attack damage and your shield protection, and I think that that's great. So I think that this is a pretty good weapon overall, but I would say that this weapon, to be very honest with you, is a skip on this weapon banner. It is not a must pull. I mean, yes, it's copium if you get it, and you can still give it to another character, but you wouldn't go for this weapon banner specifically for this. So I would say skip. But this is a good weapon overall, so I will talk about that independently in another video, so stay tuned. Now let's quickly go back to the main thing. So on here we have the Mistsplitter Reforged. And on here, this weapon is a really great weapon for Ayaka. Some of my viewers have asked me in my Discord server, as well as on some of my stream chats, whether this weapon is worth it for Ayaka. I would say that Ayaka will do well with a variety of other weapon options out there. We're not going to go into each of them here, that's not the point. But I would say she could do very well with, say, even the Amanoma. Honestly, she could. And she could do well with like the Primordial Jade Cutter if you have it, because this is technically a very universal weapon that's good for most characters. She could even do well with Skyward Blade, but you would lose some DPS out of it, but because she does need energy. She's not necessarily a physical damage character, but if you have the Aquila and you have no one else using it, then you could put it that way too. She would do also okay with the Blackcliff longsword, knowing that you won't get the sustainable passive proc all the time, or even the crit rate black sword here, because this is also okay for her too. She can do well with a variety of things, including even the Lion's Roar, because it's Electro. Sorry, not Lion's Roar. I mean, Favonius. I mean, I went to the wrong one. Favonius is okay for her because she does need an energy, like I said. So yeah, this one wouldn't do well for her Lion's Roar. Sorry. And then Sacrificial is not meant for her, and yeah, I would say we would skip the Cinnabar, of course. And if you have the Festering Desire from way back when, it's still not that suitable for her because her elemental skill is not part of like the main part of her damage or the main use for her rotation. So yeah, she has good options, but I would say yeah, like this is obviously her best sword, right? Also, if you guys have the Haran somehow from the current weapon banner and you don't have Ayato to give that to, the Haran should be okay for her as well. So just like how the Mistsplitter would also be good for Ayato, Ayaka would also do well with the Haran as well. So I would just keep it there and just keep it in a very summative kind of brief way. I don't want to keep this too long. But I would say if you're trying to kit out your Ayaka and you want to increase her damage because you love her and you're definitely going to get her or you already have her, then yes, go for the Mistsplitter. But know that the weapon banner is a trap. And as I've already discussed earlier in this video, the Unforged, although is a copium and universal weapon, it is not a must pull, and none of the 4-star weapons are must pulls as well on this coming weapon banner. So just to sum this up, just to make this really quick and easy for everyone, this banner is a skip because it's a complete skip because the Mistsplitter can be replaced with other weapons. Yeah, similar to the Ayaka banner, which I just talked about, her rerun banner right before this. She is not necessarily a must-pull character, but she's definitely one of the better characters that you can consider getting. So that's how I would leave it for her. But for her weapon, this is not a must-pull weapon, but it's a good weapon for her overall. I will say the passive is long. I'm not going to read it, but the passive, has its quirks and its nuances. So she's one of very few characters in the game that can actually maximize its potential and get all the stacks properly, because she can infuse her normal attacks with cryo, because that is one of the requirements in the passive as well. So keep that in mind. I would just say that this weapon is awesome on her, but it's not a must pull, and the weapon banner can be skipped. So I'm gonna leave it there and just end this kind of short, and we'll stop there. So anyway, hopefully you found this helpful. Please also stay tuned for my upcoming videos where I will go into more depth about the Mistsplitter versus other weapons such as the Haran, Amanoma, and others. And I will also talk about Unforged versus other claymores as well. I want to do those legacy type of weapon discussion topics as well, because I find that those are useful in any time that there are banners with recurring weapons rerunning, and also to just compare with what is already available in the game as well. So anyway, stay tuned for those.